Hi, I'm Addie Pruitt, an estate planning and tax lawyer. I collaborate with forward thinking clients on ways to preserve their property and to pass on their values and prosperity to the next generation. I live in New Orleans with my husband and two boys, and today I'm going to be talking about a spreadsheet that I put together. And as you can see, I'm very excited about this spreadsheet, which should tell you that I'm a huge nerd, but also I do think it's helpful. And so I thought it would be interesting for us to go ahead and walk through that together. Um, so before we get into that, though, I kind of wanted to give you a little background on this and how it came about. Sometime around the beginning of the year, my husband and I were sitting down and kind of trying to get a handle on where all our stuff was. And when I say stuff, we have three businesses between us. We own a rental property, commercial property, lots of bank accounts associated with the businesses for each of us. And so, sometimes it's kind of hard to get a handle on where everything is, even though we're both kind of involved in each other's business in the sense that, we know what's going on. But, like if something really happened, like where would you go to find all the stuff? And so I said, I'm gonna put something together like that. We really need to do this. I've been saying it for a while, let's go ahead and do it. So, like all good projects start, I get on the Google and say, Google, inventory calculator, something like that, and didn't really find what I was looking for. But what did pop up was a lot about, what's your enough number, something about fire movement, and so I kind of started going down that, looking at a couple of spreadsheets to see if that's what I was looking for, and something kept coming up like your enough number, and I was like, what is this enough number? And essentially, it's the amount of money you would need to never earn another penny in your entire life. And I was like, oh, that's sort of an interesting concept to think about, like what is the goal? Most of us, I know myself included, always kind of thinking, well, we just need to earn more so we can get this, so we can, remodel the bathroom and buy this new car and, update the pool and do all this stuff that we, kind of the more stuff you want, the more harder you work, the more you do, the more stuff you want. It's this vicious cycle. In my head, I kind of call it the cult of more. But, and I think thinking about the enough number kind of focuses you on like, well, what's really important? What values do I need? I think money, I was reading a book recently, it said money is always priorities. And I think that's another way of saying money is values. Like how you spend your money tells you what your values are a lot of the times. And so thinking about this enough number, really got me thinking about that. And then I found this article by a writer. I think his name's Ryan Stoller. I don't have it in front of me, but it was this like thought experiment. It wasn't like a math, like here's a spreadsheet to find your enough number, but instead it was like, how should you think about that? And sort of, I'm paraphrasing, but the hypothetical he provided was, if, let's say this billionaire philanthropist comes to you and four other people and says, I'm going to give you all the money you need for the rest of your life and you'll never be able to earn another penny. You'd be like, sweet, I'll take 100 million. But there's a catch. There's always a catch, right? And so the catch is you'll never be able to earn another penny in your life, but only the person who sort of bids the lowest amount will get the money. And I think that's a good way of thinking about it. Like, how much do you need? But that you're not trying to, maybe your goal is to be extravagant and be an Elon Musk type figure, but that's not mine. I want to be able to comfortably live with my family and for us to, go on vacations we'd like to and stuff like that. But, I don't think it's super out of the realm of possibilities. And so that thinking about it that way really got me focused on kind of, so the first step to even get there is to know what you have. And that's sort of how the spreadsheet came about. Where do you have, where are you going? So I'm going to go ahead and click onto it and we'll start walking through it after all that background. So we are going to, give me 1 minute to get this going. Okay, so here it is. All right, and let's pop it out this way. Okay, so this is it. But first off, how do you get it? Very important thing. So the way to go ahead and get that is to, you can do two things. So you can go to this link, addie-pruitt-law.ck.page/link page, or you can, and that'll bring you to, that will bring you to this. Oops, having a little technical difficulty here. And so that'll bring you to this page here. And when you hit subscribe now at the bottom, you can go ahead and sign up for the sheet. So that's the first thing. How do you get it? The next thing is, okay, so once you get it, how do you use it? So, okay, we're up here. First things first, I am a lawyer. This is a resource I'm providing to you. It is not me giving you legal advice, all that good stuff. You can go ahead and click on this link if you do want to schedule a discovery call with me to see if we're a good fit to work together. But first off, how do you use it? So if you're going to use it in Google Sheet, the easiest thing to do will be to go to File, make a copy, and then you can go ahead and save it whatever you want in your drive in a certain location and start editing it. It won't let you edit it until you do that. Or if you're like Addie, I'm an Excel person, I prefer Excel, you can go to File, Download, and Microsoft Excel and download it and save it as a file to your computer. So that's our beginning comments. And then next we sort of get into the meat of it. But before we did that, I thought it would be easiest to kind of explain this to you by kind of giving an example. And so I came up with the Boudreaux family. I'm from Lafayette. Boudreaux is a good Cajun last name. You know, 2 parents. John, dad, is in his early 40s. Mom, Jane, late 30s. They have a 7-year-old girl, 5-year-old boy. John owns his own business. Jane works for Ochsner. They own a house in Lakeview. They have a camp in Mississippi. They each have vehicles. John and Jane have worked in other places, so they have various retirement savings, some life insurance. They contribute to a 529. Jane's still slowly paying off those student loans because she's hoping that some of it may be forgiven. And that's kind of the scenario that we're going to walk through right now. So, first thing to think about is I like to go ahead and enter the date, so like today's date. Didn't quite pop up the way I wanted it to. So that would be August 3rd, 2022. And that's just so I kind of have a baseline of like, when's the last time I completed it? When have I looked at it again? The next thing is to enter all the real estate. So we said, there's an address in Lakeview. So let's say 123 Jewel Street. Can't type today. Jewel Street, NOLA. Owners of property. So both John and Jane own the property. So put John and Jane Boudreaux. How is property held? So this gives you a drop-down list of some common ways. In Louisiana, the most common ways you're going to see are community property or separate property, or perhaps person one and person two and co-ownership. Some other things you may see are usufruct, naked owners. If we get into some common law idea or legal holdings, you have joint tenants with rights of survivorship, tenants in common, tenants by the entireties, other, and unsure. So if they bought this house after they were married and they don't have a prenup and they're using Louisiana's community properties laws, then this is most likely going to be community property. Value, go ahead and attach a value to it. If you know what the property is selling for in your neighborhood. I mean, a lot of people go on Zillow, see what it's worth. Let's just say this house was worth $500,000. It is subject to a mortgage, so we'll leave that as yes. And then any notes. So if here maybe you weren't sure, you're not sure whether it's community property, not sure whether it's separate property, maybe it was an inherited property, you're not quite sure. Go ahead and write something like that, just so you know kind of what you're thinking, you're not sure, but here's all the information you would need to kind of figure that out. So we also said that they had a camp in Mississippi. So here we're going to put Bay St. Louis camp. And if you have the address, obviously you would go ahead and put that there. The owners of this property are actually John and Jane Boudreaux and John's parents, the Thibodeaux. So we have Thibodeaux and Boudreaux, B-A-U-X. And this property is being held as joint tenants with rights of survivorship. The value is, let's say, $300,000, like round numbers. It is subject to a mortgage. Yes. And then again, any notes you have about that, you would write there. Now, as you can see, as you're entering this, it's totaling it up for you. So let's say that's all the property that the Boudreaux have. That's all the interest in real estate that they have. And if there are any vacation homes, timeshares, mineral interests, rental properties, this would be a great place to put all that information. The next thing we kind of talk about is furniture and personal effects. Let's say that John has a gun collection. So we're going to put here gun collection. John bought most of these before he was married. So we're going to go ahead and put him, because we said that he bought most of it before he was married. It would definitely be his separate property. If you weren't sure, you could obviously put unsure. And he values this at $10,000. Okay. Next thing, let's just say, I usually lump all like the household furnishings together. Household furnishings, personal residence, not residences. And this is going to be, I'm just going to start abbreviating John and Jane, even though we know they're Boudreaux. This is all community property. They bought it after they were married. Let's say they kind of look around, they're adding the value of the furniture and everything and say, we're not sure, but we think it's somewhere around $15,000. Okay. Any notes here, of course. And then as you can see, those numbers get totaled up too. Next thing, we'll move on to the vehicles, make, model, and year. So say we have a 2016 Toyota Highlander. VIN or title number, if you have that, you should definitely put it. I don't have it in front of me, but that's obviously good information to have. Again, we have John and Jane. Community property. And then the value of that is, let's say, $23,000. Okay. Next, we have a truck. We have a 2019 Toyota Tundra. You would definitely want to put your VIN numbers. We have John and Jane. It's community property. And then that is right at $30,000. Okay. So right now, as you can see, everything's being totaled up. We're moving right along. These are usually some of the easier sort of things to put through, and that's probably why they're first. Next thing we're going to go to is our financial institution. So let's say they have a checking account. So we have a Chase checking account. And checking here. I guess I didn't have to put checking before. If you have the account number, you definitely want to put that. That would be helpful. And let's say Jane opened this. It's her. It's only in her name. Now, just because it's only in her name doesn't necessarily mean it is solely separate property, because depending on what kind of funds are in there. So let's say you're thinking about this. You're like, I'm really not sure. So I'm going to go ahead and put unsure. I'm going to put right here that Jane opened this account before she was married to John. Both separate and community funds have been put in here. This probably makes it community property in Louisiana. And let's say there is right now $7,500 in it. But you're not a lawyer. You don't really know. You're just trying to get the information down. You can worry about the legal stuff later, but as long as you get the information down, that's really what we're going for here. And then let's say at Iberia Bank, they have a joint checking account. It is a checking account. 2, you put the account number. This one is Jane and John. We know this is community property. And in there, they have $10,000. Okay. And then finally, they have a money market account. So let's say they have a American Express personal savings. Right here, one of the drop downs. There are a couple of different things here. If you have any certificates of deposit, you put that CDs, you put that here, but this is a money market account. Again, make sure you put that account number if you have it. We have Jane and John, and this is community property. Whoops. Going too fast. And then in here, they got an inheritance. They put, actually, let's not make it an inheritance, because that would make it separate property. Let's just say this is like a big tax refund they got of $25,000. So $42,500 in cash in different financial accounts. Investment accounts, bonds, stocks, and stock options. So this is your stuff like your Charles Schwab brokerage account, or things like that. Not your 401ks, not your 403bs, not your IRAs. We're talking about really, let's say for instance, when John, I don't know, he graduated from college and the stock of Amazon was really low, and somebody gave him 1 share of Amazon. So even though it says name of financial institution, we're going to put Amazon, 1 share of Amazon stock right here. Stock. The type of account, this is obviously stock. If it had a certificate number, you'd put it there. We're going to put John, and this is his separate property. He got it before he was married. I have no idea what the trading value of Amazon is right now. I guess I should have looked that up before we started. Let's see if I can quickly Google that. 1 share of Amazon stock. See, it looks like it's $139.45 today. So 139.45. Okay. That's all the other stuff is retirements. So then we get into the life insurance policies and annuities. Generally, and the types of insurance things. And so when you hit the drop down, it'll tell you the different types of things that, I personally would be looking for in these things. So investment account, a brokerage account, bonds, stock options, other unsure, kind of in this area. Life insurance, some of the different things you'll see: term life insurance, whole life, universal, variable, split dollar, group life. An annuity would go here. Let's say we said that John was self-employed, owns his own business. So here we're going to have, let's say he has a Northwestern Mutual insurance policy. It is term. He would put the policy number here. The death benefit will pay $500,000. His life is insured, so we'll put John. He's also the owner of the policy. We'll put John. How is the property held? This can be tricky. Community, I'm going to put unsure because he probably doesn't know. Depends on when he bought it. His current beneficiaries are, Jane, and then children. Who pays the premiums? John pays them. Okay. And this is really important to put who the beneficiaries are and make sure, and you might want to put here, like, went look at beneficiary designation and confirmed beneficiaries and the date. Just so you kind of know, beneficiary designations are super important. This is the kind of stuff that goes outside of probate and won't go through your will. So who's listed on there is very important, the children are young. There's one thing to think about here, whether or not you might want to name a trust for the children as the contingent beneficiary when they're young, but that's a whole different estate planning issue. But as I said, this is just to capture what you have. And let's say that we said Jane works for Ochsner. So I'm not sure. Let's just say Ochsner. I'm not sure. They probably have some insurance company handling it, but let's just say Ochsner life insurance or a group policy here. Group life policy number. Let's say it's a $250,000 death benefit. Jane, she owns a policy. Let's say it's community property. It's coming out of Married While They Were Community. And then the beneficiary is John. She has not yet updated her policy. She's been working for Ochsner for a while, and it's before they had children. So, as you're doing this, you can kind of think like, oh, do I need to make changes in this? Is there something I need to do to kind of make this work better for me? Next, we get into retirement plans. Let's say that Jane obviously has a retirement plan. The type of plan is most likely a 401k plan. She would put the account number here, how her contributions made. Let's say she's making them before tax, so they're no taxes being taken out of them right now. She'll pay the tax on the back end. Jane's the owner of the account. Her name's on the account, only person. And let's say she's contributed. She's been contributed for a while. She has a $60,000 balance in that account. Current beneficiaries, once again, let's say she only has John. She's forgot to update all this. This is a good opportunity to say like, whoa, I really need to go and do something. John is self-employed, but he has worked for employers before. So he has some old 401ks that he's rolled into an IRA. So I should have put the plan name there, not his name. So let's just say this is Fidelity Ochsner. And let's say, this is a Vanguard IRA account, Vanguard IRA. We're going to put the IRA, the account number here. And let's say these were probably made before tax too. So let's go ahead and put that. This is John who owns this account. And he had, let's say he had $35,000 in there. Okay. Current beneficiaries are Jane and then children. So they have $95,000 in their retirement accounts right now. Now we get into some of the other questions. We said that John was self-employed. Let's say he is a plumber. So John's plumbing service. He solely owns that. I think I spelled this wrong. He solely owns that through an LLC. Whoop, didn't mean general partnership. And here I have sort of, some different types of things that you can select from, but we want to put LLC. John is the owner of the interest. He owns 100% of it. How is property held? Let's say that he created say separate property of spouse one, separate property of John. Estimated value of a business. This is if most people like John probably have no idea of what the estimated value is. Some good ways to kind of think about this would be to do a multiple of earnings. That's a common way to kind of just get a back of the envelope calculation. So let's say, usually it's called EBITDA, earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization. And so you kind of take your earnings, back out those things, depreciation, amortization, interest, taxes, and then multiply that by like 3 to 5 times. And that's generally an estimated value based on earnings. Let's say he does that and it is worth, say if it's, let's just say it's 450,000. Okay. And we can put here, did back of the envelope calculation with a 4 times multiple of EBITDA. Okay. Just to kind of like, how do we get to that number? What do we think? Maybe someone has offered to buy the business for $450,000. That would be good to know. You probably want to put that there. You probably want to put who offered to buy the business, when it was, so that in case something happened, maybe they would be somebody who would be interested in buying the business at a later date. Money owed to you. So this is any debts, mortgages, promissory notes that others owe to you. They don't really have anything. Other property. I think that about covers it. So now we're going to kind of get into the debt portion of the spreadsheet. So we know that they had a mortgage. Let's say the Wells Fargo was holding that mortgage. I mean, that was on Jewel Street, Jewel Noah. You put the account number up here, type of debt. That's going to be a mortgage secured by real estate. John and Jane are both on debtors. It's going to be a community debt if it's a community asset. Amount owed, let's say the outstanding balance right now is $275,000. Okay. We also said that there was a mortgage on the camp in Mississippi. Let's say Iberia loaned them the money for that. So we have camp in Mississippi, and you would obviously put the real address here, the account number. This is also a mortgage secured by real estate. The debtors here are both Thibodeau's, the John Ference, and Boudreaux's. How is this debt held? It's kind of, it's probably a joint debt if it's in Mississippi, but if you're unsure, maybe select unsure. The amount on that is, let's say 135. And let's say everyone on title, everyone on deed, sign the mortgage. The mortgage, but not exactly sure how it's held, or something like that, just so you know kind of what you're doing. So we have $410,000 of debt, vehicle loans. Let's say that Toyota, Toyota Financial Services. We'll say that the Highlander's paid off, but we have the Toyota Tundra still being paid. Put the account number there. Name of debtors, we have Jane and John here. Whoop. How is debt held from a legal perspective? You probably don't know that. So it's probably community debt. But once again, if you don't know that, just put unsure and write down what you do know. Let's say they owe $15,000 on that. And then we go to any other credit card debt. Sorry, I have my little one home today, and he seems to have come in here with his iPad. The only other thing we have is Jane student loans. So let's say that is Jane student loans. I'm trying to think of who's the big student loan lender right now, and it's kind of slipping my mind. You put the account number. This is Jane. We're going to go ahead and put student loans here again. It's an unsecured debt, so we're going to go ahead and select unsecured. It was her separate property. It's probably her separate debt. It was before they got married. Let's say she owes $30,000. Okay, so that is, we've kind of got everything in here that we think we own. Now that we've done that, we can head on over to the net worth calculator sheet. Now, if you click on here, it's already added up everything from the other spreadsheet, and it's telling you what the net worth was. So we have the $800,000 of real estate. That real estate, since it's co-owned, it's probably not exactly, say the value was 300,000, but they owned by 4. So it's probably they only own 150,000 of that. But those are kind of, you can play with those numbers and figure that out. Let's actually go ahead and correct it. So let's say we're going to say their value is the total value is 300,000, but we're just going to put 150 for them and come over here. And in the notes, we're going to put, total value of property is 300,000. I'm talking to some people. You want to say hi? No. Let's say, but Boudreaux family, 1/2 is 150,000. Okay. So now we go back to our net worth calculator. You can see that's knocked down that, but everything else has kind of been added here. All their debt's been added. And at the top here, we have their net worth calculator, $860,000. Not bad. Most people would take that. One thing that to say is that, your net worth doesn't really include stuff like death benefits, annuities, pension plans, unless you have permanent life insurance and there's a cash value associated with it. So that's why we do ask that. I do ask that on the other page. Term policy, and this is just a face amount, but if you could add that and to capture that cash value. So that's how you use it. I hope this is going to be helpful. Let's see, let me type this. Whoop. Wow, we got them all on. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. I think it works pretty well. It's a kind of a quicker way to capture everything. Once you get it in there, some people have mentioned, putting passwords and stuff there. I'm not a huge fan of putting passwords in something like this. I use a password keeper, 1Pass, LastPass, choose your favorite one. But you certainly could. If you did that, I would probably say save it to your computer. Let's not store that on the cloud. And then, another thing I think to think about is, this doesn't automatically update. There are, Mint, personal savings, Quicken, all those will automatically update, like the bank accounts, the financial accounts, and all that. I think these can be used in tandem with those to kind of give you a good picture of everything in one place. I find, I use Mint, but I just find it's hard to enter some of the stuff where it's not automatically pulling in the data from some other source. What I have heard is Tiller, Tiller, is sort of an application for a spreadsheet that'll pull in the data onto that type of stuff, so it would automatically update. I haven't looked at that personally, but if it's something you have used, let me know what you think of it and how that's going for you. And then, I think that is everything that I wanted to cover today. I know we ran a little long, but I hope this was helpful. And once again, if you want to get the spreadsheet, you can go to my website. It's on the last blog article I did. There's a link to it, and it'll bring you to the links page, have you enter your email, and we'll send it to you. And then also on Instagram, if you go on Instagram, Addie Pruitt Law, the links are in the bio. That's just another easy way to get it. So I have my compadre here today telling everybody bye. He's got Ducky with him, so he's very happy right now. And we hope you have a great rest of your day. Once again, just love to hear any feedback or comments that you have about this. And we'll talk to you next month. Okay, bye-bye.